For years, Google looked unbeatable. It invented many of the technologies behind modern AI. It had the talent, the money, the infrastructure. Then, almost overnight, a company most people had never heard of captured the world's attention. And for the first time in decades, Google found itself chasing someone else. In January 2014, Google acquired London-based research lab DeepMind, securing a formidable technical foundation long before AI became a household term. This years-long buildup in basic science culminated in June 2017 when a team of Google researchers published a landmark paper titled "Attention is All You Need." The work introduced the transformer architecture, which systematically dismantled the limits of natural language processing. Previously, AI models analyzed text sequentially, translating words one by one in a slow, rigid chain. The transformer replaced this sequential constraint with self-attention, allowing systems to process vast quantities of words simultaneously and map relationships across entire documents instantly. This breakthrough made training large language models highly parallelizable and vastly more scalable. Google had built the master blueprint for the generative era, a foundation that would soon be adopted by every major competitor in the tech industry. In November 2022, a small San Francisco startup called OpenAI released a conversational interface built directly on top of Google's transformer architecture. They called it ChatGPT. Within 5 days, 1 million users signed up. In 2 months, that number reached 100 million, making it the fastest growing consumer application in history. OpenAI had not invented the core technology, but they had mastered the timing and the user-facing execution. The sudden viral adoption caught Mountain View completely off guard. In December 2022, Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai declared an internal code red. Pichai reallocated engineering resources and summoned founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin back to active duty. The pioneer of modern artificial intelligence suddenly found itself in a defensive sprint to protect its core business. In February 2023, Google rushed to present its counterstrike, a conversational chatbot named Bard. But the launch backfired. During the live-streamed demonstration, Bard falsely claimed that the James Webb Space Telescope took the very first picture of a planet outside our solar system. The error was quickly spotted by astronomers, triggering an immediate market reaction. Alphabet's share price plummeted, erasing roughly $100 billion in market value in a single day. The engineering team scrambled to stabilize the technology, but the execution problems ran deeper than a single demo. In May 2024, Google integrated its generative models directly into web search through a feature called AI Overviews. Within days, the system began serving dangerous, satirical advice as absolute fact, telling users to put non-toxic glue on pizza and eat 1 rock a day for minerals. These highly publicized errors transformed Google's competitive struggle from a race for raw capability into a battle for public trust. Google's ultimate advantage lay in its physical and digital architecture. For over a decade, the company had designed its own custom tensor processing units, building them into a global network of data centers that no startup could match. This hardware pipeline fed directly into a dominant software footprint. While competitors fought to acquire users one by one, Google already owned the default interfaces of daily life: Search, Gmail, Android, and YouTube. On November 18, 2025, Google deployed its Gemini 3 model across this entire network. It was the fastest coordinated product deployment in the company's history. Within days, billions of users had access to the new engine without downloading an app or visiting a new web address. In the scaling war, control over custom silicon and global distribution was proving to be just as decisive as model intelligence. The battle was moving past the chatbot turning instead into a contest over who owned the plumbing of the consumer internet. OpenAI held the public spotlight, but its position was structurally fragile. Unlike Google, the startup did not own the physical servers or the silicon powering its models. Every query run on ChatGPT required Microsoft's cloud infrastructure, turning user growth into an escalating tax. Training frontier models required immense computing power, but keeping them running for hundreds of millions of active users generated a massive, continuous cash drain. This made OpenAI's market lead incredibly expensive to defend. Meanwhile, competitors began chipping away at its enterprise base. Anthropic focused its strategy on corporate clients, securing steady partnerships with businesses seeking predictable, secure systems. OpenAI was winning the race for attention, but its rivals were building more sustainable foundations for the long haul. On December 1st, 2025, Reuters revealed that Sam Altman sent an internal code red memo to OpenAI staff, warning that the path ahead would be difficult. He declared that ChatGPT had reached a critical juncture. Facing mounting technical and commercial pressure, Altman ordered a massive operational triage. OpenAI immediately halted its long-term exploratory projects, pausing development on advertising integration, shopping features, and its planned Pulse personal assistant. Engineers reallocated their efforts toward a single defensive priority. All available resources were funneled directly back into ChatGPT to improve its speed, reliability, and baseline model quality. The directive stripped away secondary bets, forcing the startup to protect its primary interface. The competition shifted from writing software to securing physical machinery. Alphabet committed between $175 billion and $185 billion to its AI infrastructure budget for 2026. This spending funded the expansion of custom silicon and global data centers. To compete, OpenAI signed multi-year infrastructure commitments with Microsoft, Oracle, NVIDIA, AMD, and Amazon. Analysts estimated these agreements would total hundreds of billions of dollars. Algorithm design took a backseat to sheer physical scale. Long-term contracts for chips, power, and server space became strategic weapons. Computing capacity determines who can train the next model and who can serve hundreds of millions of users. By 2026, the two-way duel between OpenAI and Google had fractured into a broader multi-front war. Anthropic carved out a distinct stronghold as a safer, enterprise-trusted alternative, while Elon Musk's xAI scaled rapidly, feeding its models real-time data from X. The race had expanded into a four-player contest, and the scoreboard proved that divergent strategies could succeed simultaneously. In mid-2026, Reuters reported that ChatGPT crossed 1 billion monthly active users, solidifying its status as the fastest growing consumer application in history. Yet Google's massive distribution apparatus proved equally potent, with Gemini surging past 900 million monthly users in the same period. OpenAI's sheer speed and consumer focus kept it at the center of public attention, while Google's structural reach and native ecosystem countered every move. The playing field had widened, but the struggle for dominance remained undecided. Beneath the user metrics lies a deeper uncertainty. Nobody agrees on when, or even what, artificial general intelligence will be. Elon Musk and Dario Amodei forecast its arrival by late 2026, while Demis Hassabis estimates a wider 3 to 10 year window. Internally, engineers argue over whether these milestones are imminent or decades away, creating a multi-billion-dollar definitional trap that dictates risk tolerance, capital investments, and board strategies. The immediate race centers on establishing the next major computing platform, comparable to the internet or smartphones. The winner will control the operating system of global commerce, rewriting how software, business, and geopolitics function. This is no longer a battle over chatbots. It is a race to control the operating system of global power. The winner won't just own a product. They will dictate how humanity works, thinks, and decides. Who do you believe will own this future? Share your thoughts below.